Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Yeah, so many times when we take on these projects to redo our home, workspace, do that renovation, there's a lot that comes with it that we don't really know about or not aware of. Today, we're going to talk about home renovation, making it easy, the redemption of all of this. It should be easy. It should be fun, but I think we make it harder than it needs to be. She simplifies everything with her spin. She's very creative, but at the same time, this is what makes her as a designer different, spiritual in how she attacks the project. She's KN from KN Creations and Design. She's back with us. How you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. I don't know what it was. Past this eclipse today, I feel this new energy. Like I'm not even kidding. I got my car, I drove here, and I was like an animal in a cage. Like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. Like, I got to get it done, or got to make changes. I think that also happens with our homes and our living spaces. Like, it just doesn't fit us anymore. And they say that we reevaluate our lives and everything connected to it, even relationships, every 5 years. By the way, relationships, when they call it the 7-year itch in my research, and that's personal research too, that you take 5 years to evaluate, then it takes you 2 years to make a change, and that could be your 7-year itch. I think you could have a 7-year itch in your home. You look at it and you're like,
100%.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think right now there's so much change energetically happening in the atmosphere, in the universe, and like in the world. And this week I've had some really interesting conversations with clients, colleagues, friends, just people in general, even strangers. It's been really weird. Like, people have been coming to me that I've met on the street walking the dog with like their life story. And I don't know what it is about me that says, come
Hmm.
talk to me. Let me be your therapist for the day, even though I don't know you. But I feel like everyone is so hungry for change. And this is what I'm calling the home redemption season, or redemption season in general in your life.
I
And
totally get it.
making,
I'm the therapist too. I don't know where that happened. I don't know where the, therapist sign comes from. And when somebody actually listens to my situation and has feedback and you feel they're really listening, I'm like, oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, where'd you come from? Even though,
like,
the
oh, you
conversation,
want to listen to me?
right, right. Doesn't happen often. I'm sure that you attract that in your energy because people, even when it comes to doing renovations, designs, and jobs, it's not just well, we're going to take out that wall, we're going to put that over there, we're going to do that. There's a story involved. There's a personal, emotional investment or connection to where somebody lives. You're there for hours of your life every day. So I'm sure you're like an empath. Like, you take that all on.
Yeah. And I can walk into a house and I'll literally know right away if like something's going on here, because the energy will feel thick and heavy for me.
Mm.
And it's just, I call it spiritual discernment. And it's true. It's like everyone's like, use your discernment when you need to make a business decision, or when you need to make a decision for anything in your life. And I'm like, what is discernment? I didn't know what that meant for the longest time. And then I did research and I'm like, hold on, there's more to this. There's something I call spiritual discernment. It's like your gut instinct times 20. And
Mm.
you have to follow that. And I have to use that in my professional life every single day, every minute of every day. The way that I respond to people and react it can make or break a whole situation. It can make or break my career, my character. Um, I can argue my way. I can argue until the day I die, but I have had to like learn not to do that. You know, like people,
Disconnect.
yeah, you have to disconnect a little bit. I mean, I've been in arguments so heavy before where they're like, it's your delivery. And I was like, no, it's DiGiorno. Sorry, I win. And they're like, what? What? Like, I will find a way to get my point across. Um, but I know that when it comes to making changes, that was a big like reactionary change I've had to face and do in my professional life, and my personal life. But in order to make these changes, and get the result that we want, it's a painful process. Like, it's not easy. And you just have to you got to keep moving forward. You get a flat tire on the side of the road. You can't stop in the middle of the road. You got to pull over. You got to keep going, pull over before you can move forward,
You like read my mind, and it's really weird because I say that all the time in my journey at this point. Remember Finding Nemo?
Yeah.
And then you had Dory, and she would say, keep on swimming, just keep on swimming. And that's kind of where I roll. Like, this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen. Just keep moving forward, keep swimming. Instead of, yeah, you have to pull off to the side of the road to fix a tire, but you fix it and keep going. You got to keep going. You identified something before, and I want to go a little bit deeper into that. The intuition, the gut feeling in general for you. Now, it's interesting when we get together, we talk about design, renovation, and all of that, but also life and how all of this kind of goes together. How does your intuition feel? Number one. Number two, how does it work for you when you apply it to a design or a redesign? What do you feel? Like you just said, you walk into a house, living space, workspace, whatever, and just the energy feels heavy. You're going with your intuition, and usually we're right when we feel it. What do you feel?
I will sometimes, if it's a new project that it's a first meeting and a consultation with a client, and it seems like it's almost too good to be true. When I'm driving to meet this client, my body is going to tell me what I need to know before I even get there. I've been physically ill in my car driving to a first meeting, to the point where I'm like that close to canceling altogether and just being like, sorry, I can't come. I have a fever or something. But I'll get really sick. I'll start getting really lightheaded, or I'll get like severe stomach pain. It's always through my stomach every time.
Mm,
And I
same.
didn't know this. And this happened to me when I was a little girl. And I didn't know that all this time it was my intuition trying to tell me certain things. And there's been some things that have like tragically happened in my life that I knew about before it happened. And it was like to the timestamp, to a T kind of thing. So that was like my wake up call. And now I kind of use that as my superpower of kind of figuring out like which direction I need to go in my work related items. Like, I know for a fact when I'm designing something that's a little bit outside of the box, I know it's going to be a challenge. I know the contractor is going to fight me tooth and nail on it, or the client, I'm going to have to convince them a little bit of why this works versus why they want to go a different route, why that wouldn't work. And I'll usually know if it's going to be successful or not based on my intuition and my discernment. I won't even
Mm.
present it. If I get really sick and I get a sick feeling like this is just not going to be good, I'm not even going to present it, because I don't want to deal with the discomfort and the pain, to be quite honest.
And it's not like you're manifesting it. It's you're just feeling it. It is what it is. You can't change the dynamics, the people involved, even structure. There could be a structural challenge that you're feeling. This is not going to be, not that it has to be easy, but this is not going to flow the way it should for whatever reason it is. And it could be, there's a beam missing or something going on there, but you haven't put your finger on it yet.
Yeah. And I will tell you, every time I ignore my own intuition, and this has proved me time and time again, and I've eventually have started listening to myself because I'm sick of like the repercussions. But if I don't measure something like 3 or 4 times before I place an order, if I do it only once and I'm like, oh, confident, we're good, and I don't recheck it, 10 times out of 10, there's something that's not quite right. And I should have listened to myself and remeasured.
Mm.
That's just as one example. Another example is some of the big projects that I'm currently working on, they've been drawn out. They've had delays. They've had things that have gone missing, like windows being like lost on an ocean somewhere on a boat that we can't track. And so it delayed the job by 6 months. And it's so painful for not just me, not just the contractor, but the client too. And you have to find ways to make it exciting again for them and to push through and power through. And I have to keep reminding them, we're going to get the result that you want. I promise you, it's going to be so worth it in the end. You're going to be sitting in your couch all cozy and you're going to be looking around and being like, oh my God, we finally did it. We made this happen. And God, was it painful, but here we are. We made it.
I just got an idea. New TV show, TLC, starts next Monday. It is The Design Psychic.
I had a psychic reach out to me actually and pitch that to me.
Seriously?
Ironically, yeah. And she was actually, so she's a psychic for crime scene. And she did a reading for me because one of my family members was murdered and she wanted to reach them about for her crime show. And so I did the interview and she's like, you're a designer? Oh my God. And we were talking and she's like, we should collaborate on a show, psychic design. I'm like, girl, I got more power than you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Our powers combined.
I think it would be interesting, to see use intuition in a design. That said, when you're working on a project or starting one, do you see it done in your mind? It's finished. You already, and if you don't see it, it's almost as if you don't want to take it on. I don't know if that's making sense.
Yeah.
But you've got the vision. This is, and very clear. Or if it's not clear and you can't figure out why, that's a red flag.
100%. It's got for me, like, well, a lot of creatives too. You have to have that vision and you have to find a way to make your clients see that vision if they can't see it themselves. So, obviously there's technology that can help you achieve that, but there's nothing like the vision in your mind of how a project is going to look when it's fully done. And you just have to give that confidence to the people involved. Like even contractors and tradesmen, they don't quite have that vision either. Just before this our episode right now, I was on a job and I had to literally like put all the pieces together for a really custom decorative thick like furniture leg that I've designed and built out of pieces to kind of save some money for the client that the cabinet company didn't offer themselves. So I had to figure out how to actually design and build these pieces. And I did it for another client and it was successful. So I knew the success rate was there. And I knew that this time around, people doing it, like they have the knowledge and the power to get it done. But I just had to kind of go in with the instructions and the vision and show them how to achieve this. And once I explained it to them, they were like, oh, perfect. We got this. We're good. And it was great.
What do you do in those situations where you're explaining it and somebody's not getting it, be it contractor, client, whatever it is, and it's visuals and 3D models and blah, 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 blah. But when they're just not getting it, what do?
This is where I have to like respond and not react, like in those moments, because actually that happened in the car ride to that project. I had a phone call about a tile layout and they just weren't getting it on the phone. I'm like, listen, you just got to take one full piece of tile and do even cuts on the two sides, divide it by 2, take the full length. And like, they just weren't getting it. And I'm like, the math isn't mathing. I was trying so hard to be patient and it was challenging. And then finally we got it through. I had to really be calm and collective and like over explain it in a sense, in a way where you don't ever want to come off like you're talking down to somebody. That's really important.
Sure.
Because nobody's going to absorb that. All they're going to see is like, they're going to be blank and they're just going to be really defensive and they're not going to care to get it done the way that you want it done because now they feel offended. So that's why the delivery is very important.
Do you remove emotion from a lot of this?
I try to. I
Yeah.
try to. I mean, when you're creative and like you're really passionate about something, I'm sure like you experience this in your life. Anything you're excited about, you don't want to put too much emotion into it because A, you don't want to jinx it. And B, also you have to remember like they're creative projects, but at the end of the day, when the project is done, you're off that job. You're not living in that space anymore. It's no longer yours to like embody. So you have to like let it go. You kind of just have to let things go that aren't going to matter in 5 years.
Hmm.
That's something I'm like reprogramming my mind to think.
Totally. I've even had, because I do marketing as well, I've had situations even recently where after, I don't know, 5, 7 years, maybe more, client decided to move on. And I know in my heart, I see the metrics. You're getting, 150 calls a month minimum for a minimum investment. uh, Good luck. I wish you well. I know that I'm bringing it. And if that doesn't work for you, but a lot of times there's other things involved. Somebody speaks to somebody else, shiny new object, whatever it is. But, I feel as long as you put you into it, the best version of you, you can't control other people. That's their choice. And if they don't understand that you have their best interest, of course, you have to blend what they want with your suggestion of how it's going to look. But it's also a relationship too. If they're not seeing the vision, then maybe it's not the right kind of relationship. It's like,
Yeah.
why don't we, date 500 people? We don't, because we don't connect with 500 people. It just doesn't make sense. It can
Yeah.
be challenging.
But what's interesting about like you and I is we work in very different fields, but at the same time, the end result is the same. So the work that we're putting in for our clients, if we're not putting in work and we're getting upset about results we're not getting, you cannot get upset about work that you're not putting in for results you're not getting. Like I said, I tell that to everybody. Like that goes for fitness, that goes for health, that goes for wellness, that goes for your job. You know, people could show up. We don't do that, obviously. I'm not saying us, but people in general, they don't show up. They half-ass their job and then they're not getting a raise. Why do you think you're not getting a raise? Or why
Mm-hmm.
do you think like you're putting a lipstick you're lipsticking a project with the cheapest materials and it doesn't look beautiful, and or maybe it's falling apart in a year because you chose really crappy products because you wanted to save a buck. And now look at what happened. Now you have to pay
Yeah,
double because you have to replace everything. So there's always a consequence
sure,
based on the
sure.
decision.
Uh, I want to drop some weight. I know, and I've been, working out more, but I know I'm not really kicking it in like I used to. I know it. I need to wake up earlier, spend more time, more intense workouts. Oops, where'd the camera go? And go back with my trainer, Kira. I had her 2 years ago. Best shape, and I can't even, it's so long. And it's like I'm trying to figure out the schedule with her. And she's, part of the plan. I got to go back to that. It's an investment. It's like, all right, got to find a time, at least 2 days a week with her. But I can't say, hey, how come I get on the scale? Hasn't changed. Really? Yeah. All right. Well, there was Taco Bell last night. Not kidding.
It's the
Not kidding.
discipline.
Not kidding. It just happened. And I'm not proud of it. And I feel like garbage today,
Listen,
but
the eclipse makes people more hungry.
maybe
So
that's
you
it.
blame it on the eclipse.
Thank you for that. Yeah. But yeah, if you don't put the work in, you're not going to get the results. And I think it's no matter what the work is, whether it's work on yourself or whatever, it has to be a genuine effort. And, you put the genuine effort in. And if somebody doesn't accept that genuine effort, that's on them. You can't change people. It's the dynamics and all of that. How do you address when you work with somebody and they're frustrated that it's taking longer than they expected? How do you deal with that?
That's every job right now, to be honest. That's the phone call I get every single day. But I will say time is out of our control sometimes. Like these are things we can't control. Me as a designer, It's always in my a clause in my contract that I'm not responsible for the timeliness of a project. The design is done by the time your project starts, 9 times out of 10. So now it's just a waiting game as far as placing orders and things being applied and installed. And sometimes, like in a very rare occasion, they're faster than I am, the work being done. And I'm like, oh, I gotta you gotta slow down a minute. I gotta catch up to you.
Wow.
And that's a very rare occasion, and that's a good problem to have. But a lot of times, it's me talking the client off the ledge. They're ready to quit. They're ready to pull the plug on just the whole project altogether because they're like, my God, this is taking so long. I thought we were going to be done a year ago or whatever, like 4 months ago. And I thought so too, but we're not there. So all we can do is keep moving forward. I mean, if you're going through hell, you don't stop in hell. You got to keep going. You got to push out of it.
And a lot of these things are out of your control. A lot of contractors juggle multiple projects, just the way it is nowadays. I do remember back in the day, you would hire somebody, they would do one project, maybe one focus on, they got another one floating out here, just a little quick thing. Now it's multiple. I guess it's just, I don't know why it changed that way. I don't understand it, but it is what it is. You can't change it.
Well, also it is business too at the end of the day. I mean, if you're let's say a contractor is working on a job and let's say all the doors and the windows or like some of the material is on a dead halt because it's delayed, what are they going to do? They can't do anything. So they have to bring in other projects. They have to continue to work,
Yeah.
Construction and design is very different than a lot of other projects or careers out there because if you own a business, especially, like, you don't get a paycheck unless you're on a payroll. But like, if there's only 1 or 2 of you, you're most likely not on a payroll for a good amount of time and you're not collecting a check every week.
Sure.
So you have to keep moving. I mean, everyone I talk to in this industry right now is in a total burnout phase because we can't stop. We have to take on more because we have to keep the flow of income. We have to keep our minds like finessed and creative. The minute you stop and you're worrying about anything, that creative block, ignites. And then you just feel like you're stuck on a glue trap and you can't move forward. And you get into a rut and you're not excited. You're irritable. You don't find it, as your passion anymore. And I went through that a couple of times in my career. I did go through that a few months ago. Everything was kind of just like not going my way. And I just felt like I lost my spark, my design spark. And it's like writer's block for designers.
Yep. Totally get it. It's part of the creative process too.
It is.
It happens. There's been times where I need to write something and I'm like, I can't do this. I had to write a copy for a website. And I take some things on myself because depending on the dynamics, but I like doing it. I had to dedicate a Saturday. I had to say, you're doing this. It was like, a little rainy out. I was like, you're doing this like a month ago. You're doing this today because it's overdue. And once I got into the mode, it was fun, but I procrastinated. And yes, I could throw it to a developer, writer, content writer, but I know what the client is looking for, very specific language and all of that. But it all worked out. And it was fun in the end. But I get it. Writer's block, designer's block.
Do you find though, when you're in that situation that like you're doing self sabotaging things to yourself to avoid having to get the task done because you're just so like paralyzed with this creative block? Like me, I'll go cook or bake just to like do something to get out of doing what I need to focus on because I just mentally, I can't get there. And I did that for a while and it actually really worked against me because it made me like gain 5 pounds.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I got to stop doing this.
Yep. And it's also, you don't want to fail. So you put the expectations on yourself and it's like, well, I'm not in the mood now. And if I start designing, writing, whatever it is, and it doesn't come out the way I wanted to, or it's not done fast enough, I failed. So I don't want to deal with that. So chocolate chip cookies, let's go.
Yeah.
Pivot over. Yeah.
100%.
We're out of time.
Oh, wow.
Like we're always overtime, way overtime. I love your spiritual view of all of this and also your honesty. I don't think a lot of designers will admit that, yeah, there are times where I have a block. Why? You want the best for your clients. Sometimes it's going to happen. It happens with anybody. Talk to any musician. Any musician will tell you the same exact thing. They, either had to take a little time off or refocus because it's a process. Takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, it does. You just have to be honest and you got to show up as a real person. It's not a highlight. Life is not a highlight reel. It's just not.
Yeah.
And if that's what you expect, or if that's like what you're giving off to people, they're not going to think you're authentic. So you have to just stay true who you are.
Yep.
And show all the parts, all the sides of it.
Yep.
You're not going to see that on HGTV.
True. Yeah. You only see the good stuff, or there's always that when things go wrong. It's like finding the beam. Oh, there's a beam. Everything changes. Well, like that great story you told about the creepy doll in the
Oh my God.
in the hidden closet or something like that. Like, whoa. that's TV magic right there. Your
God.
website, share that with all of us.
It's Kristiann Creations and Design Ltd.com.
Yeah, great samples on the website. You have very active on social media. You do great work. We all have a slump every once in a while, and that doesn't affect any clients. It just affects you. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and next week I'll be in Italy at the design show.
Oh wow!
So I'll take everyone along with me, and we're going to see some really cool stuff. All the new, fresh, shiny things out on the market that no one's seen yet.
Oh, bring it on, and be prepared to gain another 5 pounds.
I'm prepared. I'm ready. It's fine.
That's worth it. All right. We'll have a safe trip, and we'll catch up when you get there.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.